Hey all, so it's been a little bit since I've released a war video before the war that the fights are from is actually over, but things worked out such that I'm actually not taking any minis this war, and so I am done. I'm not going to speculate on the outcome of the war, because I like to stand firmly in that it ain't over till it's over camp, but we are definitely on the back foot for this one. So, I'll let you know that. This is up against, I'm going to just say LAPS, but a Latin American alliance, and they made Masters last season, so we expect a good performance. I had to weave a few of these fights in and out around some of my teaching and then going to a movie tonight. So, for I think the first time ever, I'm actually using these 6-hour war boosts, and that worked out very well because I didn't have to rush Toffrey, who I was sharing this path and some of the minis with. So, that was kind of nice. But I've taken this Doom before. The reason I'm sharing this path with Toffrey is because I wasn't strictly needed anywhere else, and while he could have done this with Archangel, it is a bit of a potion sink for him, and the way that tends to play out is that Archangel does not have a native way to turn off Doom's aura, and so if he doesn't get enough neuros going early, then he can have to wait that out, which can allow the Furies from Aggression Fury to stack up. It's a good counter, but there are definitely some downsides to the fight. Whereas Reed starts out with Petrify up, turning Doom's aura off completely, removing all of that. He reduces block damage by being able to evade some of the special attacks. And then between Petrify and Suppression, there are fewer specials thrown in the first place. And he slows down and then eventually reverses Strikeback. See right there, we threw that special, and because there were 3 Petrifies up after activation, it actually drained his power. Now we also have plenty of power gain because my read is now Sig 200, and so we're just, yeah, we have all the specials we can want. I was going to combo into another one, but didn't even need that because all of those debuffs plus Despair and the Petrifies was reversing willpower. It was over. So then Toffrey took the next couple nodes, and I ended up taking this Mysterio on Mixmaster. You'll see me checking to make sure I'm recording a number of times. I'm just going to stop trying to hide that because I've lost too many recordings recently. But Mysterio is one of the harder opponents on Power Snack because you do have to wait out his reflection gas. But as you're going to see in this fight, it's not the end of the world if you don't. Even if the heavy crits and you get, a few thousand damage reflected back on you, the rest of Reed's abilities control the fight so completely that you can afford to take a little bit of reflected damage, and it's still my personal favorite counter for this node. I know this node can be quaked. I've seen, I believe, Doom used for it. I've seen Magic, maybe Omega Red. Like, there are a bunch of other counters. I know I'm missing at least one obvious one. But I just like Reed for this because it's not just that he handles the ability power rate of Power Snack and then of backup recovery. That he covers with the Petrifies. The suppressions also handle combat power rate, and so there are just fewer special attacks to deal with in the first place, which means fewer reasons to evade, less need to bait, you don't run into Power Snack as much. It just makes everything that much simpler. And then, of course, there's all of those debuffs so that once you get things going, the kinds of fights that I tend to take with Reed are very rarely against opponents where the defenders will bother to turn off willpower, and so I just get this free source of damage throughout the end of the fight. And then we're going to go for a special one again to refill our charges. And we don't quite finish him while the stun is still up, as that would have given even one more, but that's okay, we have plenty. I'm going to go ahead and drop some on that Professor X, and then I am dropping more on this Sasquatch. So I was originally planning to take this Sasquatch without the pre-fight and then use my pre-fight on another node later. We ended up moving some things around and bringing an additional torch, and so that meant that I was allowed to use my pre-fight here. Additionally, I had Reed on the team, so I used both Petrify and Suppression because those both come in handy. Again, Suppression means fewer specials, Petrify blunts Mystic Dispersion. Fantastic combination. But then I also use Torches pre-fight, and you are going to see just how much that helps. Like, it starts off making the Incinerate stronger, but then there's also all those power stings, right? So I have no idea why that parry didn't stick, but that happens right now. So it's been quite a while since I've taken this node actually, and I fully threw that too early. So this is actually quite embarrassing because the one piece of advice I always give to everyone is, wait longer, throw your specials later, don't worry about baiting. It's better to eat special threes than it is to get stunned. And I got stunned here by throwing my special too early. But the good news is I had stayed on top of the fight enough before that the power stings just finished it off, and there actually wasn't that much damage because there wasn't that much danger because the only way he could have killed me from there would have been to throw a special, and the special finished him off with the power stings. Anyway, funnily enough, given all of the times I've clearly checked if I'm recording, I did not record the Modok fight earlier on this path, but I took it with Killmonger. It went fine. It was an easier version of the Killmonger versus Modok fight that I did on Polka Dot Power last war, so I don't think you're missing too much there. We take this Dragon Man. I throw on Petrify again, although I don't think I threw on Suppression. No, I did. Okay, I used all three. So I was just trying to make sure as few specials as possible. I just didn't want to mess with Dragon Man. Notice how Torch had a special one right away because the synergy with Reed allows him to start with more power. And so that's why we were able to refresh those debuffs. I heavy counter his special one, again to refresh the debuffs, but after blocking a bit of it to get rid of his power charge and then pick up on that willpower healing. I am very glad Dragon Man is not high ground, because if he were, then this would still be a safe fight, but I definitely would have taken more damage by now, especially because I had already used my pre-fight. But things are going nice here. So special one to refresh the debuffs one more time, make sure that the passive power gain doesn't get out of control. And I was hoping he would throw that special too, but that's okay. He was low enough, I just stepped back into the special, didn't have to bother with a combo or anything, and down he went. So, plenty of pre-fights still, but it doesn't really matter because now we're going to use Reed again and recharge. This Mangog is a good placement, but honestly this isn't even the hardest place that I've taken him with Reed. You basically just, go to stack the Petrifies and it takes care of itself. He's definitely harder on strike counter. I consider him a little bit harder on aspect of evolution. This is basically just kinetic transference. And so if you don't die to that early, Reed turns it off for the rest. But it's very nice that I'm taking this again because, like I said, I got all the way up to 9 pre-fights early, and I had spent enough both on my fights and on other people's fights that I'm all the way back down to my starting 4 again. So all of the benefit I got up until this point basically wouldn't have existed if I had needed this many pre-fights going forward. But by using Reed and by running Resonate in addition to, getting other debuffs going in the fight, we should recharge pretty much almost to full. And so even though this is my last fight with Reed, I should be able to make other people's lives easier on the Miniboss Island. And that was actually a key part of the fights that I ended up taking and what we ended up doing at the end. I could have gone to the right and taken the brute force limber Miniboss, which I've done before with Killmonger, but we decided that it was going to be safer to the battle group overall if I went left and placed some important pre-fights, which I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been able to use Reed successfully for all these fights along the way. Really nice how that happens. So here, I didn't throw the special 2 immediately, not because I was worried about the indestructible, but because I wanted to gain a little bit more power and make sure that I would definitely be able to combo my way to a special 1 in case he ended up getting to his special 1 and was therefore at 9 charges, and there was any chance of him going unblockable and unstoppable. I wanted to be able to stagger that with the special 1. Didn't end up being an issue, but, it pays to be careful. So like I said, this war is not over yet. There are a number of fights left, but this is sadly the first war this season so far where I've not given up an attack bonus, and that felt really, really good. So nice to get a little bit back in the groove there. Hope the pre-fights help everybody else's stuff go well. And this will be the end of the first week of the season. So we'll see how things shake out from there. I'll catch y'all next time, but I do have a few videos planned for the break. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe subscribe if you haven't already. And take care.